This episode of the No BS Weight Loss Podcast was taken from a group coaching call with women over the Christmas New Year period. This is part one of a two-part series in which we discuss sugar detoxing for weight loss, whether you should go there or not, why, when, and how much exercise you should integrate into your routine over the new year, how to speed up your weight loss using my specific mindset hack, and dealing with temptation over the holidays and how to avoid eating all the things just because they're there. This episode talks about the eating codes, which is my 5-step system for natural weight loss, which you can get for free over at kyliepax.com/free course. Let's dive in. Hey girl, I'm Kylie Pax. After a lifetime of emotional eating, struggling with my weight, and being a serial dieter, I finally found the missing key to weight loss and I lost 20 kilos. Each week, I'll give you my no BS weight loss advice so you can sprinkle it over your life and your dinner plate and lose weight too. Everything I teach you is fluff-free. That means you'll learn simple strategies to master not only your weight, but your mindset as well. Girl, you get that in check and those extra kilos will never haunt your booty again. If you're ready to lose the weight for life, let's go. We were going through some really yummy stuff about raising your standards. Raising your standards, people. Now, what I was sort of talking about earlier this morning was being very, very mindful. And this sort of ties in really well when we talk about raising your standards because it's all mindset. You know, a lot of basically everything that we go through here in Sexy Motivation is all around the mindset, because if you've been through, like I said, if you've been through any of my other programs like the boot camp, Transformation Society, those kinds of things, especially the boot camp, it's very practical. It's like your basic 5 steps to start. It's like a foundational starting point, right? This is how to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, and this is how to make it work for you, So that's completely different from a diet. It is you returning to your natural way of eating so that weight just, can come off without the drama. So that's what that one's about. And essentially, because there's only so much that you can cover in a certain period of time, that is where Sexy Motivation sort of stemmed from. That I was like, you can have all the practical steps in the world, but without the mindset to keep it going, you just simply cannot. You can't. Eventually, you're just going to go, oh, I don't care anymore, because the mind games we play with ourselves will do us in every single time. They do you in every time. What we do is we tend to, sometimes we're in the flow and our thoughts are in the flow and we're feeling the vibe and it's awesome, right? We love it. When you're feeling good, it's easy to make the right decisions. When you're in the flow, when you're in the vibe, we talk about these things, these are the buzzwords, right, of alignment, of the moment. Alignment, flow, vibration, all these sorts of things. I'm very big on this, and I get that they're really sort of trendy at the moment, but they're trendy for a reason. And the point is they've always been there. We're not paying attention to them. What you think about is what will become your reality. If we know this, if going to the gym is simply a non-negotiable for you, then you just go. It's not a big debate in your head for 45 minutes about whether you should do it or not. Whereas the thought process, it's like, I don't want to, then it turns into the tennis match, right? Where one part of your brain is like hitting the serve, doof, got to go to the gym, right? You should go to the gym. It's the right thing for you to do. And the other part of your brain is like serving back. Like, don't want to, can't be bothered, right? I'm tired and whatever. The excuses start flowing. And the tennis match just keeps going to and fro until eventually, and this is what Sexy Motivation Tribe is about, I want you to reach a point where, like, when that serve comes across, like, go to the gym. It's like game, set, match, point, doof, it's over. It's over. It's not even something you're going to enter into a negotiation with yourself about, because it is now simply who you are. I am this person that go to the gym, whatever, right? But I am a person that takes care of my body in some format, but with some kind of physical activity, maybe not necessarily once a day, depends what your standards are, right? But you might be a person that does it once a day. That might not work for you. But, it might be like, well, I'm a 3 times a week girl kind of thing. Once a week, twice a week, we know that really that's probably not the ultimate way of loving and taking care of your body, purely unless you have a really physical job, right? Or you do something that's already very active. But most of us, we sit our butts on chairs all day long. So getting some kind of movement
from a place of love and kindness for yourself is a great thing to, have as incorporate into part of your world. Sexy motivation is about mastering your mind, so that it is no longer a big thing. You're not the kind of person that stands there for 5 hours in front of a tub of ice cream going, should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? Because eventually you're just going to go, I'll stuff it, I will. It already has to be a core part of your integrity of who you are, whether you will have some or you will not have some, or that how much you would feel good about having all that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about. So when we were talking really in module 1 about raising your top standards and your bottom standards, it really is upping your game. And this is a decision you get to make, because the thoughts that you think, now you've heard this, thoughts become things, and they do. Thoughts become things. But the other thing that I wanted to say to you is that thoughts they don't become things until you make them your truth, right? So we've heard that saying, thoughts become things. Yes, they do. But before they can become a thing, they have to become your truth. Do you get what I'm saying? So let me give you an example, right? Thoughts can come into your head all the time. Do you think, right, for a second that I might have said this in module 1, that I just roll out of bed every morning feeling fabulous and on fire, and it's like, yeah, it's all great, and I'm like powering through my day and nothing's going to stop me? No. I wish. Now, yes, there are many, many days that I feel like that, but there are also many, many days when I do not, right? So if you're sort of like that and you're going, oh, she seems to be always so whatever, switched on, and she's powering, she's doing it, she's motivated, she's in alignment, she's, doing all this stuff. Yes to all of it, right? Let's give a hallelujah. Yes to all of it. However, I choose that. I choose it and I work at it. It is not my natural tendency. Some people just are very, yay, like they really are. And I don't know many people like that. I don't think I know anybody like that. But me personally, I'm not naturally like that. I'm not. In my very, very natural core, like the way I was brought up and all that kind of thing, I'm more of a I don't know, do they call it a realist? It's probably more of a pessimist, this is bound to go wrong. Like, this will not work. This works for other people, but not for me. This is the sort of the DNA, right, that I have. I know my parents are, I can tell them something great, and then my dad will just go, well, you better be careful about X, Y, Z. Do you hear me? Is anybody else got relatives or loved ones that are like this? Let me know. Throw it in the comments and let me know, because it's such a big challenge. It is a challenge. And so, just on that, I really reached a point where I had to, for a period of time, decide how important it was to me to start sharing my wins and all that kind of thing with my parents, who, it's close family, who I love so much. But when the response was continuously not yay for you, but and it's not a bad thing. It's, again, the way they were brought up, and then the way their parents were brought up, and on it goes. We are products of thousands of years of generation. We're products of thousands and thousands of other people, right? We think we are us. We're actually not. We're just little fragments of hundreds and thousands of our previous generations. That's what we are. But at some point, you being here in Sexy Motivation means you've woken up to that, and you're like, you mean I don't have to be who they told me I had to be, or who I thought I even was? And I'm like, no, you actually don't. You can make a new choice at any time, and Sexy Motivation is giving you the tools to do that. And at first I was very disappointed about it, and I voiced my opinion. I said, why can't you just be happy for me? And they are. But the way they voice their love and happiness is to say, and truly, this is a true fact. I can say this for my family anyway. The way they were voicing their love for me was, please be careful. Okay, that's great, but be very mindful about this and this and this and this. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? So I'm on a high, and then all of a sudden I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I better be careful about all those things. I better be careful about all those things. Now start making a list. Making the list. God, I've got to be careful about all those things and worry about the things. Then you start talking to other people. Do you ever worry about those things? What do you do about those things? And then you're thinking, now how can I handle those things? They haven't even arrived. They haven't even occurred. They probably never will, but I'm worrying about all those things, right? That's what I want to share with you. That's what I want to share. Our mind games, the way we think is everything, everything, everything. It will determine whether you win or lose at this game of life. And really, when I say lose, can you really ever lose? Not really. Not really. Because at any point you have a choice to come back to your success lies in your own DNA. Your success lies in your own DNA. I cannot tell you anything here in Sexy Motivation that you don't already know or isn't intrinsically a part of you. What we are doing, what I am doing, my role is to help you locate it because you don't believe it's there. I'm telling you it is there. It is there. If I can come from where I came from, which, if you've heard my story before, and I know a lot of you haven't, the very, very brief version is, it's a bit spooky. My relationship with food is spooky. I spent 30 years really highly tormented and in a very, very tortured state about my self-worth. My relationship with food, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So it all rolled into one for me. And you will see this in your own personal life. The way you do anything is the way you do anything. So your tortured might be a bit of a dramatic word, but your conflicted relationship with food is not just showing up in food. It shows up in every area of your life. Self-worth issues, the battle about what's right and what's wrong. Did I do okay? Was I okay? Was I good enough? Did I do it right? It shows up everywhere. The guilt, the mistrust, mistrust around yourself and others. We think I can't keep that food in the house. It's not, the food can't do anything to you, can it? It doesn't have arms and legs, not going to leap out of the cupboard, it'll attach itself to you and force itself in your throat. The food actually has no power. We have granted it with magical powers. You've heard me say, we sprinkle it with magical pixie dust. We think it's going to do something or it has powers that it actually does not have. But we can't see those powers in the food. We couldn't see them if they weren't inherently in us. Whatever power you are giving away to the food, you inherently have within yourself. You are that freaking amazing. You're that incredible. You're that strong. You're that determined. But you've just pushed that power outwards because you're a little frightened by it. We will talk about all these things as Sexy Motivation goes on. But Ashley, thank you so much, Michaela. It's so great to have everybody here. Thank you so much to everybody. I'm going to go through your comments in a second. Well, I'll scroll through in just a second so we can cover them. But I just wanted to sort of touch on this morning because this is how we roll. This is how we roll here at Sexy Motivation. It is about empowering you to realize that, as you may have heard me say previously, I could come into your house and shout slogans at you all day long. It is not going to help you. That's not going to empower you. You have to know how to step into the power that already resides within you and live from that place. That is when you've got what it takes. Now, I'm not wrapping it up. That's what I usually say at the end. But so this is what I wanted to share. And when we talk about those thoughts, the big thing that's been so on my mind recently, we just want to, so I'll put this out to you, be very, very careful and mindful about the thoughts that you are allowed to take up residence in your head, right? Which voice are you going to allow to purchase some real estate up here? Because when they move in, it's very freaking hard to get them out again, right? It is like trying to evict tenants that are no longer paying. They don't want to go. They do not want to go. So your job is to be the real estate manager of your own mind, right? Your job is to be the real estate manager of your own mind and decide what tenants get to come in there from the get-go. Don't let them come in there and start squatting before you've realized that they're even there. We have to be smart, sexy, savvy, and switched on. And the way that you do that is via your feelings. You will know what thoughts are trying to take up resonance in your brain by the way you feel. Are you feeling a little crappy about yourself? Are you feeling a little scared? I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is for me. And again, it's not just the way you do anything it's not just with food. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So you will notice it's not just thoughts about food. It's thoughts about your own personal security, maybe finances, maybe body, maybe your spiritual life or relationships, we start worrying and freaking out and being doubtful in all of it, starts showing up everywhere, right? It is the tenants that you have allowed to take up residential space in your brain, So when I say you will know what thoughts are rattling around in there by the way you feel, what I mean is, if you check in with yourself, and you don't even have to check in, because when you're feeling good, right? So those are the days where I jump out of bed and I'm like, yes, awesome, let's go, let's do it. I'm so on fire. Go do the workout and I'm feeling great, and it's all amazing. It's all amazing on those days. But how about the days when it's not like that? How about the days when my alarm goes off and I'm like, no, not today, not for me. You just want to, no, like this. No, don't want to know about it, right? Like the emoji, you hear me say, like that emoji girl that puts her hands up like this. That's what you want to do to your own life. You're like, no, not today. Not today, right? You know that somebody has taken up residence here that does not belong. Does not belong. You can tell by how you feel. The challenge is, you do not want to do anything about it on the days that you feel like this. Of course you don't, but you have to. You simply have to decide, based on the standards that you have set for yourself in module 1, this is how I'm going to be. This is just how it is for me. Now, when I recognize this is going on, this is my action plan. This is what I do. I do move my body. I do start writing out affirmations. I do start talking to myself in a positive way. I do not allow myself to start going, oh, yeah, I know. The thoughts go, this is never going to work for you. You go, it's never going to work for me, right? And then the thoughts start going, you might as well just eat all that chocolate that's already in the pantry, because, we're only a few days before the weekend or the whatever, right now, right? Festivities coming up galore this weekend. Whew, it's the pinnacle of festivus for all of us, right? And then you just start going, what's the point? What's the point? Anyway, who cares? There's going to be truckloads of food there around this weekend. I'm not going to be able to avoid it. So I might as well just eat everything now and start again. Whenever on your next new date on the calendar, right? No. You have set standards now in module 1. You've set standards which you are now committed to living by. That's how it rolls out. We will go through my full story. I'll tell you a little more about that sort of over time. But I do understand. I was deeply tortured. And I lost and gained the same 20 kilos like 500 million times. It was the story of my life. I was binge eating. I was emotionally eating. Although I didn't even know what emotional eating was till I was like a fully grown adult, until very much later in life. I didn't know there was a term for what I was doing. I didn't know that it had an actual name. I just thought I was a complete out of control crazy person. I did not know that there was a term that was called emotional eating. I didn't know that. So I felt like I was the freak, and that everybody else in the world could control their relationship with food and what was wrong with me, which of course just made it so much worse. So my whole life was lived Monday to Thursday, really, trying to be good, because by Friday rolled around, I was like, it's nearly the weekend. And then when it was the weekend, I'm like, it is the weekend. And I would just eat. So any weight whatever diet I was on at the time, any weight that I had lost, I would just gain back 5 times over Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I would promise myself, I'll get back on track Monday. And I would, Monday to Thursday. But then, things would happen. Somebody in the office would bring something in, and it would be like on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Monday afternoon. I'm like, don't they know this is messing with my plans? Like, everything used to torture me, everything. So, I tried 100 million different diets, and then I would make up my own. When I ran out of diets, I would make up my own. I would just try anything. I was always on a diet, so much so, and from such a young age, so much so that I actually didn't know what normal eating was. I had no idea. I didn't know how to do it. When I say I didn't know what it was, I knew what it was. I could see other people doing it, but I didn't know how to do it. I did not know how to stop eating when I'd had enough food. I didn't understand any of that. Like, I just literally, I thought, what are you doing? Like, when I would see people stop and push their plate away and there was still food on there, I'm like, what? I don't understand. What's going on? You stop when all the food is gone. You stop when you're stuffed and you can't fit any more in. You don't stop when you're like at some comfortable level of satisfaction or something. And, it just sort of bedazzled me for years. I could not figure it out. But, so this was the torturous relationship. And, I tried many different methods. So there was so many different things that I would do. Like, and when I say tried, I don't want to disrespect or sort of, make lighthearted of the fact that people seriously deal with anorexia and bulimia and that kind of thing. Thankfully, that wasn't a permanent thing for me, but I tried to stop eating. I tried stopping eating as a form of weight loss. I tried bulimia as a form of weight loss. Thankfully, it did not work for me, and I found it all so hideous that I just stopped it very quickly. But depression set in. Like, I did the whole orthorexia thing, where if it wasn't fully organic and, like if it had one speck of refined sugar or whatever, then I wouldn't touch that. And, I was a woman of extremes. I was a woman of extremes. And so many of us are like that. It has to be, it's all in, it's all or nothing with us, right? Very often. So we're helping you find some middle ground here where you can be really comfortable with the process. It takes time. So we'll talk more about that as we go on. Cherie says, yeah, bread makes me really bloated. Oh, me too, so much. Will I set myself up to fail if I try to limit it in my diet? Totally. Oh, totally. Yeah, anything that you try and restrict or deprive yourself of or eliminate. Now, there's a few ways to look at this, right? There's a few ways, and I'll give it to you in every way so you can choose what works for you. Now, will you set yourself up to fail if you limit bread in your diet? Okay. Anytime we try and restrict or deprive ourselves of something, whether it be bread, okay, now, I don't know, Sharice, you can tell me, is it a gluten thing? Because I don't tolerate gluten well at all. My nutritionist has told me in no uncertain terms that it's very serious that I do not eat gluten because of leaky gut syndrome, and I often suffer hideously with bloating and all that kind of thing. I know Susan can vouch for that. She's seen me like in the pinnacle of it. It was terrible. And then you are forced to follow a very restrictive diet, and it is not fun. It's a FODMAPs thing. And, if you don't know what it is, you can Google it, but I can tell you it's not fun. Now, so if you are trying to limit something in your diet just from a place of to lose weight, right? I'm going to stop eating bread. I'm going to stop eating carbs and stop eating refined sugars and whatever to lose weight. You will binge every time. It will backfire and you'll binge. You'll backfire and then, you binge, which is a backfire, right? Backfires on you, just does. However, the flip side of that is, and we'll be learning about this all through Sexy Motivation. So the flip side of that is if you're doing it because your body requires it, because it just does not tolerate certain foods very well, well, now that's different. And that's a different mindset that you're going to need to adapt and adopt, right, in the real estate section of your brain, because it's something, and this is how it was for me. I had pushed myself into a corner. I had been eating foods that I knew did not agree with my body. So purely because I don't want to be limited or restricted ever again. I know, thank you. I know, laughy faces, right? She's out there now. So because of my history with dieting, when the nutritionist said to me, it's really important that you don't eat gluten anymore, I said to her, so you're telling me now I can't have cakes, donuts, cookies, she's like, yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you realize now I'm going to go out and eat like a truckload of them purely because you've told me I can't have them. Now you said I can never have them again. I want them. I did not care about them 2 seconds ago. Now you've told me to stop eating them. I want to eat them. Thank you so much. And she's just like, get a grip, right? Because she doesn't understand. She doesn't know what it's like to be in this kind of brain. And she's just like, get a grip. There are gluten-free options. I'm like, it is not the same. OMG. It's not even it's not the same, right? Can we just be real? Like, I've tried a lot of gluten-free stuff, okay? And no, it's not the same. It's not the freaking same. If it was the same, we'd all be eating it. It's not the same. It's not as fluffy. It's not as nice. It's generally not as sweet. It's just not the same, right? So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I sort of just chose to ignore where she had said, you really seriously should not eat that again, to, maybe dialing it down is good enough, right? And she's like, no dialing it down. You can't have the gluten. I'm just like, well, whatever, right? So generally about once a week, I go to, some of you might have heard my stories, I go to my parents' house for afternoon tea around once a week. So I just go there more frequently. But once a week is like an official thing, right? A thing. Me, my parents, and my uncle, who I love to ridiculous eternity amounts, we go, we catch up, we have afternoon tea. And it's always something sweet that we have. My mom's a fabulous baker. Fabulous. She's always making something incredible, like let me give you some examples, right? Caramel slice, chocolate brownies, like sometimes it's just even the biscuits and things that she makes are just really yummy, right? So we have cake, we have things, right? I did not want to give that up. I didn't want to. And this is some, helpful information. It wasn't just purely a food thing. I had connected the food with the love. I was there. I was with my parents, my family, my uncle, who I just loved to the moon and back. So there was a connection. I didn't want to feel separated from that by me sitting there with some, sunflower seeds and nuts and goji berries and some gluten-free dried up crumble cookie, and they're having fabulous things. I did not want that. I didn't. So I didn't do exactly what she told me to do. In fact, I didn't do what she told me to do at all, the nutritionist. I did what I wanted to do. And so I ate the stuff. Now, eventually that backfired on me, and I ended up really, really not in a good, as you can see, I'm like touching my sort of gut. Like it was awful. It was so bloated and painful. So I had pushed myself into a corner, and I knew at that point that I simply now had to do what she had told me to do. I no longer had a choice. I was in that much pain, right? So this is what Sharice is saying here, that if you are in a position where you actually don't have a choice, then you have to come to terms with that. You just have to. So the way to do that is knowing that you're doing it from a place of love and kindness for yourself, and the kindest, most loving thing you can do at that point is to eliminate or greatly reduce, or just choose an option that works better for you, right? If your general wheat gluten stuff doesn't work, there are other options. It's not like we have to starve, and I carry on. I make the jokes about the gluten-free stuff. I get it. But you don't have to starve. Okay, it might not be exactly the same as fluffy white bread, with butter, whatever, right? Peanut base. It's not exactly the same, but it is something. You're not entirely going without. It's all right. Do you know what I mean? It's all right. It's all right. We make these big dramas in our head. Well, I do, right? So this is what I want to tell you. Yeah. So Sharice is saying, like, what I mean is, should I make rules? Like some people quit soft drink. Yeah, no, honey, no, don't make the rules. Don't make the rules. And like I said, so I hope what I've just said has helped you there with that question. But making rules, rules lead to failure. Well, basically a rule is a diet. That's what diets are. They're a set of rules that you're supposed to follow. And so really I can just put it back on you. Has that worked for you in the past? How's that worked? Has it worked? Has it worked for you long term? Because I feel as though if it had worked for you long term, we would not be having this discussion. So I'm a very strong believer that we already know what to do. We already know. We just want some validation, or maybe someone to go, yeah, that's totally fine. So we can go, wee, even though we know inside that it isn't. We know. First question's from Beck. And Beck says, hi, everyone. So I just wanted to ask if anyone had any advice on how to get on track with good eating habits, because I keep finding myself going around in circles, telling myself I'm going to start making better choices and maybe eating well for a day or two, but then spiraling back into bad eating habits. This usually starts with eating something small and probably full of sugar, and then for the rest of the day, eating everything I can get my hands on, because I tell myself I've already ruined it for the day. And that I'll start eating better again tomorrow. She says, this happens way too often. How do I even start changing my eating habits? If anyone has any advice, this would be super helpful. So the first thing I wanted to point out here, there's a few things that sort of popped up in my attention zone with Beck's question here. First one being that she sort of mentions, I eat really well for a day or two, but then she spirals back into bad eating habits. So there's a real clear and distinct definition here between good eating and bad eating, And, if we've ever connected before, I'm huge on eliminating food labels. Food labels will do you in every single time. Let me just expand on that. Food labels will do you in because the minute you think you've eaten something that's bad, then you think to yourself, well, I've been bad now. I've messed it up. I might as well eat everything. It's exactly what Beck's saying here, right? Messed it up. Might as well eat everything in the universe, right? Because I've already done something bad. Now, like when I say the way you do anything is the way you do everything, if you think you've done something bad, generally your first thing is your reaction, especially when it comes to food. It's not to just go ahead and now do something good. Like I ate a piece of cake, now I'm going to eat an apple. When I'm hungry again, no. Your instinctual reaction is to just continue the badness, right? Because if you think about, for instance, small children, whatever. Bad people in society, people who do bad things, they get punished. They don't get rewarded. They get punished. When people do something bad, they generally get a punishment. So what are you doing here? What are you doing by continuing the cycle of I'm going to eat all the bad food now, all the bad food? It's actually a form of punishment because you're making yourself feel sick and really, really bad about yourself. So just pay attention to this. You don't need to punish or hurt yourself because there are no food labels. If you take away the food labels, then there's no need to react in that manner. If you eat cake, it's okay, or a cookie or a chocolate. Who cares? It's one thing. It's one thing. One thing is very different to a whole day of eating that way, or weeks or months or years of eating that way. Still doesn't have any reflection on your self-worth or your decisions or whatever. It's just going to get you a different physical result, as in you're going to feel sick and bad about yourself and be very uncomfortable in your body because you're obviously going to gain weight, clearly, right? So this is the other thing. Now, okay, there are no right or wrong decisions when it comes to your food choices, okay? There just simply are not. You cannot mess this up. You cannot mess it up. And here is why. Here is why you can't mess it up. Because contrast equals clarity. Contrast equals clarity. You can't know what you want until you first know what you don't want. Right? You can't know what you want until you first know what you don't want. So what Becky's saying here is when she's eating something and then she realizes, oh, I don't feel great about that now. I just don't. I wish I'd made a different decision. That's okay because you can't undo what's been done. So that's all right. Okay. You don't have to now, cement that, compound it with kilos and kilos of other food that you also don't want, that you know is going to make you feel bad. No, instead, you can see this as your clarity moment. Now you know what you don't want. You can be very, very clear on what you do want. And what you do want is not to feel bad about yourself and eat another 54 kilos of ice cream. It's not what you want. What you want is to return to feeling good about yourself. You don't want to punish yourself. You want to return to feeling good about yourself. So now your next choice and move and decision is clear. What would you need to do next to move you in that momentum, in that direction? What choice would you need to make next to move you in the direction of feeling good, considering that you now are very clear that whatever it is that you just ate for whatever reason did not make you feel good, didn't, right? Now, again, I just want to say, so if there's no right or wrong food, no good or bad food, you're not good or bad, the food isn't good or bad, it was just simply a choice and something that you ate, it's okay. But if the end result was you didn't enjoy it because you felt bad about it, then make a different choice next time. Get the clarity out of that moment, the contrast of the way you feel now compared to how you wanted to feel. You thought it was going to make you feel great, but it didn't. Actually made you feel really bad. That's okay, because now the contrast has given you the clarity. Now you know exactly what move to make next. You'd make the next right move. It's going to take you in the direction of what you want, not in the direction of what you don't want, which is more feeling bad. Okay. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, yeah, Danielle says, yeah, she loves that. Contrast equals clarity. So much. You can't be clear on what you want until you know what you don't want. And that is just, apply that in every area of your life. It applies to everything. You cannot know what you want until you realize and understand and are very clear on what you don't want. The other thing that you can ask yourself around this sort of question is really, truly, what is my intention? What is my intention? If you've eaten, let's just say if you've eaten some cake, whatever it is, right? Donut, cookie, cake, chocolate chips, ice cream, pizza, whatever, right? You've eaten it and now you don't feel great. And you think to yourself, well, I might as well just eat all of it now. I might as well, really, if we take a step back and think about it, what a bizarre concept. I did something that I didn't like, so I might as well do a truckload of it. Doesn't it make you laugh? Send me a laughing emoji because it's just such a weird thing that we do. It's like, what a bizarre thing that we do. I just did something, it made me feel terrible, so I'm just going to do a whole ton more of that. It's so there's such a disconnect there. I know, right? Thank you. But really, when you can laugh at yourself, it's so much easier to get the clarity. It's like, what a weird and bizarre thing that we do. I did something that made me feel like crap. So I might just do it for the rest of the week. It's so disconnected from the true heart of what we actually desire that you have to laugh at it. You have to laugh. So the way that you can know, right, whether you should move forward with eating more of it or just back away, you saw me to back away, right, is by asking yourself, what is my intention here? What is my intention? If that voice comes into your head because it's taken up some real estate and you're working on evicting the tenants, that's okay. It's what we're doing here in Sexy Motivation. We're working on evicting the tenants that you don't want. So the real estate, the apartment building in your brain is full of fabulous, fabulous tenants that just love you all day long, right? Until that time, till we've found the right tenants to fill the apartments, all right? Until then, you can ask yourself, what is my intention here? What is my intention? Because say you ate some ice cream or whatever, right? And now you just don't feel good about the situation. Maybe you don't feel good physically. Maybe you ate too much. And that's why you think, I don't feel good about myself, in my body, or anything, right? It sucks, right? And then the thought process comes in, well, I might as well just eat everything. And maybe it's Wednesday or Thursday, in the week, and you just think, I might as well just eat all weekend now and I'll start again on Monday, right? So we think these things, that we do. I'm very truthful. I'm not going to lie to you and say, and then you can just motivate yourself to, no, we have to deal with the underlying thought process. And what Sexy Motivation is about dealing with the underlying thought process. And because it's great, right? All the aha moments in the world are fabulous. We need them. We need to know why we're doing things, but then we need freaking practical steps to be able to move forward. And that's what I'm giving you. So you can ask yourself, what is my intention here? What is my intention? If my intention is not to make myself feel like absolute garbage for the next 5 days or month or whatever until I pick a new date on the calendar to start again. If that is not my intention, to make myself feel even worse than I feel right now, then what decision would I need to make to move forward in the direction that I do want to go, where I do want to feel good, right? What is my intention? If your intention is to feel good, then take the action that's going to make that happen. If your intention is to make yourself feel like a piece of crap, then go eat more ice cream, right? Like really, we just need to take a reality check sometimes. We tell ourselves these fanciful stories and we think that it's so hard and that we don't have any power. We have the freaking power. Of course we do. Of course we do. So, the other thing I was just going to ask here with Beck was, have you set your standards from module 1? So, let me know, because setting those standards is so, so, so important to be able to get the clarity to move forward, because it's your measuring stick now. You've got a measuring stick for every single thing that you do now in Rest of Sexy Motivation and with your eating forevermore. You have a measuring stick now. You've got standards. You've raised your top level and your bottom level. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to shimmy your butt over to kyliepax.com/free course and sign up for my free weight loss training so you can start losing your weight now. You'll also find helpful notes and resources in my past podcasts that will help you lose your weight without the BS diet drama. I'll see you next week.